Well, hello everyone. Curie Beck here, How to Homeschool My Child. I am so excited that you are here. I'm excited to be able to share some of the things that I have learned over for a while. If you have not gotten your handout, I'm going to go ahead and put that link in here. If anyone joins us, they do not get any of the past chats. So if someone asks about the handout, maybe one of y'all can copy and paste that. As much as I'd like to multitask, I'm not the greatest. So today we are here, Start School Right in 2023, in hopes of giving you confidence with a proven plan so that you can actually start school right. I will tell you, I spent the last 30 minutes before I got in here reviewing all your responses that you entered when you signed up. There was number one theme, overwhelm. And so I'm going to really try to address overwhelm. I mean, like every third or fourth person had something either with overwhelm or worry or stressed out. Am I doing enough? All this stuff. And so hopefully we will give you we can talk about some specific ideas that will help you reduce that overwhelm as well. So let me see if I can get this. Where's the right one? There we go. All right. Can you relate? Whether this is your first year, 10th year, or 22nd year, I think that we still struggle with this. Do you wonder if you're doing enough activities or the right activities? You're fighting that nagging feeling that you're not doing enough, or you're not sure. You wish you could look into the future, know for sure your kids will be okay, and what you're doing is right now. It would be great if you could put those magic future lenses on and see what's going to look like in 20 years and go, yay, thank you, God, this is what I need to do. But that is not it. We live in a life. And for those of you that haven't been around me much, I am a person of faith. And so I am going to integrate my faith within what I talk about. We are living in a time that we have to trust God for decision making. Do you wonder how you could help your kids make wise decisions and not follow the crowd, or hoping to change your kids' complaining attitude and enjoy learning? Maybe you need refreshment and encouragement, or you just need a good energy boost to get going in the right direction this year. Some of you I know have also told me, I have no idea where to start and what I'm doing. I think you're in the right place. I hope we give you some good ideas that you can get started. If you walk away with one idea, it will be worth it. If you have not gotten the handout, you can get that at howtohomeschoolmychild.com/start handout. So what I hope to do today is give you, a lot of you, we want to move you from one place to the next, from feeling tired, exhausted, and overwhelmed about doing enough in your homeschool to really being able to gain confidence as you actually start your year. I'll edit this. Start your year by following a proven plan to focus on fun, lifetime learning so you can start school right this year. Not only that, we would love for you to be able to experience peace and confidence that you're offering your kids the best education possible as you raise them to think critically and become lifetime learners. I really want to show you exactly how you gain confidence to start 2023, or whether it's a class, it's the whole school year, whatever. We want to help you give confidence. Are you as excited as I am? If so, leave a yes in the chat. I would love to see if you're excited. I'm really pumped up about this. I spent the weekend sort of working on it as well. Today, what I hope you'll discover is the major shift moms can make to quit following the public school model and give your kids what they need to love learning for a lifetime, to give you a fresh perspective. And also, I think this major shift can help you get unstuck and provide better consistency in your homeschool. We want to talk about the number one activity for moms to use in parenting, homeschooling, so that you can let go. So your kids are really ready for adult life, becoming a leader for Jesus Christ. And with this activity, to stop worrying. One of the easiest ways to inspire a love of learning. This is so simple. You can use it from preschool to high school, and it works all the time. We want to give you some fresh ideas on love of learning as well. How you can become a more effective mentor to your kids. What is most important in your homeschool? More important than checking off your to-do list. I know I'm a checklist person. How to start right and develop critical thinking skills. let's fill your bucket before school even starts. And so I will tell you that if you stay with me to the end and decide to work with me in raising your kids to lead instead of follow, I'll give you an opportunity to get your hands on a special bonus that I just added to my Raising Leaders course. I'll give you all the details at the end of class. But in the meantime, I am going to choose some random comments along the way. So every time you enter a comment, you will be entered to win my Don't Worry prayers based on scripture. And this is something, basically, there are some times in my life that I needed to quit worrying. And these are verses that help me focus my prayers on God. So if you are, I will give away a few of these throughout this class. And all you have to do is leave a comment. Now, before we really dive into this, I just want to encourage you to reduce distractions as much as possible. Turn off your cell phone unless you're watching on your phone. Shut down all the windows on your computer. If you're not watching on your computer, put it away. That can really help you. If you are on your computer, it can bounce you off if you have a lot of things open. Close your devices that you're not using. Shut the door if possible, which I know is hard if you're at home with your kids and you still need to take care of them. But that's what are some ideas that you can actually reduce the distractions. So I'm excited. Let's start off with something that you could take away right now. And so I will tell you, I read every one of the comments afterwards. I can't always read every single one of them, but y'all are making some great comments about worrying and that kind of thing. Let's first move into mentoring, and then I can give one of those prizes away. Some of y'all wanted to know about mentoring and how you could be a better role model for your kids. So let's talk about the 3 levels of mentoring. The first level is modeling or nurturing your kids. And I leave these cookies here because I believe when your kids are little, you are modeling everything. You are nurturing and you are doing most of the work, and they are watching you and they are copying you. Whether you like it or not, they are modeling all day long. And actually, my mom, who just turned 85, is still modeling for me. A godly woman, a grandma, a great grandma. Some of the things I do as Gigi are based on things my mom did with my kids when she was a grandma. The way I was a mom was based on that. We are constantly modeling. You are modeling for your kids. One of the things we really modeled was please and thank you. We didn't, I mean, yes, in the beginning, not say thank you, say please, or they'll ask me to, my grandkids ask me to do something. I said, well, what do you say? And then they'll think, oh yeah, please. Well, they're 6 and 8 years old. They're still learning to say please on a regular basis. Eventually, my kids didn't need to be reminded. We said please to them and we said thank you to them every single day. It became a natural part of who we were. So the first stage is modeling and nurturing. The next stage is teaching and equipping. And this is what most of us think of homeschool. We're teaching our kids, we're equipping them with all these subject areas. But it's not just math and writing and history. We teach them maybe how to change the oil. Something even more important, we teach them the Bible. If you heard Rachel Carmen in Homeschool Superheroes, she talked about how that's the most important subject to teach. I totally believe I'm going to follow up with something else that goes along with the Bible in this master class. But we need to teach and equip our kids with the Bible so they have a solid foundation and they can go out into the world, and we still let them make their decisions and they make different kinds of decisions, but teaching and equipping. And then coaching and developing. Now, let's talk about what a coach does. They plan the drills, they plan the strategies, the tactics, they prepare the players to go into the game. But I don't think I've ever seen a coach go in and pitch the ball in the middle of a baseball game or throw the football and make a touchdown. They are on the sidelines. They prepare the players. They walk alongside the players in the game. And that's what moms, we need to be doing with our kids as we coach and develop them. We need to be preparing them for the game of life. Are you doing these? I personally think this is age development. Modeling begins at the very beginning and continues. Then we start teaching them Our teaching does wane off a little bit as they get older, and I think we move into a coaching stage, especially with our teenagers and especially with young adult kids as well. So I think this is also the time. It's okay if your kids fall on their face if you're coaching them, because you're going to be able to walk alongside them and journey with them as well. So I'd like you to leave a comment and let me know, which type of mentoring are you using right now, or should you be using with your kids? And as you enter these, whether you're modeling, teaching, coaching, and it may be multiple ones. If you're doing multiple ones, I would challenge you to choose one stage you're in right now that you're going to work on this week or this month coming up in August. And I would challenge you to write it on a Post-it note and put it on your bathroom mirror, the refrigerator, the desk, your bedside, wherever you will see it every day. And as we go through this class, hopefully you will get, let's say you choose coaching, and then you hear a specific strategy you can use to coach them. You're going to add it to your Post-it note. Can you take the mentoring challenge? If you're going to take the mentoring challenge, tell me in the chat, and I am going to enlarge my chat a little bit because I can't see that many of them. And we will be giving more ideas throughout the class. And I will tell you, if you put this into practice every week, whichever stage you choose, how would your homeschool be different? And let me just, y'all got a bunch of good ones. I am just going to randomly choose one of these. Okay. I'm going to choose Chris Olson. We're going to give you one of these No Worry books. You can DM me your email address. I'm writing this down so I can find you. She said modeling and nurturing is what I've been okay at. The older ones I need to work on equipping. That's a really good point as well. And so we need to look at all of this and just see what we are doing well. And so y'all are in the right place. I hope you will take the Post-it challenge, put one on there, and then listen for a specific idea you can implement. Now, let me just tell you, you're in the right, oh, it's not moving. You are in the right place if you're a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling multiple ages, or an only child, and you're cooking, cleaning, chauffeur, and all those other tasks. You're following the school model. It isn't overwhelmed work. It isn't working, and you're overwhelmed, and you need a new direction. Or maybe you're a working mom trying to balance all your home and homeschool duties with work. Whether you're working at home or outside the home, you're looking for ways to get organized, to manage your time and give your kids the best. Maybe you're a Christian parent who wants Jesus to be the center of your family homeschool, but you're stressed out. And this group, this number 4 group, has grown tremendously. I have many grandmas. You're homeschooling your grandkids, or you have the responsibility, full responsibility for your grandkids. And some of y'all wrote that on your responses. This is a growing group, let me tell you. Tell me, I'm looking at all the things that we got some working moms here. Yes, the balance and the working mom thing. Actually, I am hoping this fall to do a class just on work at home moms or working moms and homeschooling. I'm writing myself a note because this is a huge thing too. Maybe I need to do a grandma class too. But let's just see. We've got people, we've got stay-at-home moms, we've got grandmas. I told y'all we got grandmas here. I'm a grandma. So thank y'all for sharing where you are. No matter which one describes you, I support you and I have ideas to help you. But some of you are like, I don't really know who you are. Some of you do already know who I am. So let me just introduce my family. There are my kids from last spring. It was right here, Elizabeth's birthday, and we all gathered around before the party. This is Ashley, our oldest. She is married to Jesse. They have Elizabeth, who's 6, and Faith, who is 8. Ashley was willing to do things outside the box. She actually started her own business with Steve, her dad, and they had a business in high school, and it was all online at that time. That was back in the 2000s. She's got a college degree in a year and a half. She never finished Algebra 2. She never took an SAT, ACT, any of that. Yes, she thought outside the box, and I will challenge you to think outside the box to reduce your overwhelm. So this is Gentry right here. She's our middle child. She is married to Andrew. They have Deacon and Landry. I don't know what Landry's looking at, something besides camera. Jeffrey won the Bear Award in high school. That was, she played softball and basketball with the public school. And as a homeschool student, the only homeschool student on either team, she was voted by the student, well, she was captain for the junior and senior year, voted on by her fellow teammates and her coaches. As a senior, she won the Bear Award for basketball and the Bear Award for softball, the only one. She was a leader. She is a natural born leader. Actually, I think all three of them are natural leaders. And I think some of it has to do with the things that we did in high school. Hunter, well, this is my parents. I just already mentioned my mom who turned 85 and my dad who turned 93 years old, still around. I am a blessed person to still have my parents here. And then right here in the middle with with nieces all around. And yes, Hunter plays with Deacon too. But he's the baby of the family. There's Hunter, our baby. And he was always asking questions. He would even raise his hand at the dinner table as well. They are all leaders in different areas of their life right now. But one thing we really stressed with them, especially in their teenage years, was to take ownership of their own education, to know study skills and leadership skills. We wanted them to become independent learners because we knew they could not be dependent on us all of the time. Now, I have a master's in curriculum instruction. I was a public school teacher for 6 years. Everyone's like, oh, you know exactly what to do. But let me tell you, I had to hop off the public school conveyor belt and find a new way to homeschool because it wasn't working. That traditional school method made me overwhelmed. We homeschooled for 10 years. We had ups and downs. I don't know if you're in an up or a down, but let me just tell you, I can relate to you. I had to try to figure it all out at the time. Between Charlotte Mason and classical and unit studies, what do I follow? About 5 years into it, my friend Andrew Pudawa of IEW shared some information on leadership education, but it wasn't from a Christian perspective. So again, I had to figure it out on my own. I took what he shared with me, and then I started doing it with a biblical perspective, and that's what I want to share with you today. I want to help you so you don't need to figure it all out by yourself. Oh yeah, I have one more picture. I just have to brag on my grandkids. This is just from a few weeks ago. You can tell 4th of July, we're all in our little red, white, and blue. They're so much fun. Independent studies is what I'm doing. Yay, that is so cool, Stephanie. I just think independent studies is where it is. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, can you imagine homeschooling together without all the attitude from your kids, growing relationships with your kids instead of putting out fires and checking off checklists? To have peace and confidence, knowing you're doing enough, to have a clear picture of where you're headed, and your kids will turn out okay. What we want to do today, oh, I missed something. What is my thing? Oh, well, let me get over here. What we want to do today is talk about 3 tips to start school right. How can you raise your kids to be lifetime learners, loving learning with a great attitude for the rest of their lives? Plus, we're going to throw out some ideas to give you freedom, give your kids freedom as adults, and to give you freedom to do what is important to your family right now. But some of you are like me, you want a roadmap. Where are we going? So here's what we're doing. We are going to talk about the foundation to start school right, 3 tips to start right, and the most important goal. Some of y'all wanted goal setting things in homeschooling and how you can achieve it. So let's see, let's talk about that foundation. This was said 1909. So it was over 100 years ago. We want one class to have a liberal education. Put it in the chat and tell me what you think liberal education is. And I'm going to keep talking, but I want you to tell me, what does liberal education mean to you? Because this person in 1909 wanted one class to have a liberal education, but another class, a very large class of necessity, to forgo the privilege of a liberal education. You see, back then, liberal education was a privilege. It was actually the type of education that had gone on for thousands of years. Liberal arts, humanities, open to all types of learning, good answers. I think those are ways we get to it. Think about the word liberal. Where does it come from? It comes from the word liberate. I believe this liberal education here is an education that liberates our kids from the teacher, liberates the kids even from their parents and being dependent on someone else to learn. It gives them freedom to be able to have the tools of learning and a love of learning. You'll have some great answers in there too, and I will keep looking at it. So we want one small class of people to get this great education where they get the tools of learning, love of learning, critical thinking, all of that. But we want a big class of people to forgo that and get specific, difficult manual tasks. This is on the heels of the Industrial Revolution. The industrialists are pouring billions of dollars into public school because they needed workers. They did not need thinkers. Think about it. They needed workers, not thinkers. They needed people to show up at work and do whatever they were told and become followers. And that is where we were. Now, it took several decades to get to that. I would say at least the 50s, 60s. So that's about 4 or 5 decades before they really got it in there. And that's when we started raising kids to follow whatever the teacher told them. Before then, it was education. We were giving our kids an education so they weren't dependent on their kids. You may be going, who said this? Well, Woodrow Wilson, the president of the United States, he was president of Princeton at the time. But it was very planned out. Don't think this wasn't planned out. So it is very important that we know where we came from. And I have quotes. I'm not sharing them. I don't have time. I have quotes from Great Britain of this happening in Great Britain as well. So this is across the board. Germany, go back to Charlotte Mason. She will tell you the same thing was happening in Germany in the mid 1800s. So let's talk about 3 types of education that he's talking about. The first one is a conveyor belt education, and this teaches kids how to follow. They all get here at stage 1. They do the same activities. They're tested the same way, and then they get a stamp of approval. They go to station 2. Same activity, same test all the way, and there are 12 stations. At the last station, they get the final stamp of approval, and they are sent off to the market, the job market. Sound familiar? It's 12 grades. Everyone does the same thing. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your strengths, your weaknesses. It doesn't matter what God has called you to do. You do what your teacher tells you or what the school system or actually the government is telling you to do. This system teaches kids how to follow. It actually began a long time ago, but the Middle Ages, they wanted an education for poor people to be productive in society and have a job. We've just moved it forward along the way. This is where I started public school education, master's in education. I needed to hop off the conveyor belt. So I think it's important that you know where you're headed. And if you're doing the follow traditional, this is probably where you're headed. And I would encourage you to quit copying. You got out of the school system to give your kids a better education at home. Let's think of a better way to homeschool our kids. Next, we have the professional education. And this that taught what to think. This teaches when to think. And when to think. So you go to mechanic school and you come out and you're like, bring your car and clunk, clunk, clunk. Here's what you do when this happens. Or you go to med school. Someone comes into your office and their neck hurts. Oh, this is what we do when this happens. You learn what to do when this happens. This develops a career. You become an expert in an area, and then you continue that so that you can retire in the end. And then the last one is leadership education. This teaches our kids how to think. We'll spend the rest of our time talking about this, but it develops a child or a student that begins to own something. And this is where we were before the 20th century. You would live in society. You would become an owner of something and you would be productive because you could think. At the time, I think it was the Greek and Romans, anyone could be voted into office. They changed the leader of the towns every year because everyone had a leadership, classical, liberal education, and they could all think. I believe this education quits the overwhelm. You can quit fighting. Conveyor belt education encourages overwhelm. It is a 20th century curriculum. I'm not going to name some of the traditional curriculums that y'all are following, because some of you wrote names of curriculum and you said, I am overwhelmed, without naming them. If you are just buying one thing and it's every grade and every year and you got kids and all different things, I would be overwhelmed too. Let's hop off that conveyor belt and let's take a look at leadership education, get focused on where we need to go. But I will tell you, this is a trust issue. If you leave the traditional system and you hop over here, you're going to have to trust God and his direction in your life. It's a faith issue as well. You know, Elena's gone through Raising Leaders, and she just said, your Raising Leaders was such a helpful resource to get out of that public school mindset. It helped me view education differently. She said neither she nor her husband had homeschooled. She goes, I was learning everything from scratch, Carrie, and this helped me leave the conveyor belt and understand that education is lifelong, not just 12 years. And that really begins at birth and goes until our last day. I thought, how well said. I just thought, thank you, Elena. So which one of these, y'all have written some good comments. I wish I could reply to all of them. I hadn't even picked your curriculum, Jenny. This is really good. Maybe this will give you a foundation to pick the best things. Which one of these would you want for your kids? And there is no judgment here. I just think it's important that you look at it and tell us, think about where are you headed as well. And you're like, how, Carrie, with all that curriculum to complete and those check boxes to check off? What if I mess them up? And I'm trying to balance life and family and homeschool and work. And we still have COVID every once in a while. All that clutter around my home. I need to get organized, but I also got to cook and clean. I am overwhelmed. Let's talk about this. I would like to say this is a lifestyle, and it should really permeate all areas of your life, not just curriculum as well. And so let's get rid of the overwhelm. Let's rejuvenate your homeschool, and let's see what direction we can go as well. Where did I just see this? Rachel Stargill, I just appreciate your transparency, so many choices, and how to do this, get hung up on the best course of action. I want to check the boxes. I do too. So they all learn the fundamentals, but I also want to lean more classical. Rachel, I want to give you one of our don't worry things. So send me your email as well. All right, we're going to get ready for those 3 tips. Before that, let me just ask you, how does a generation who was not mentored in leadership education give this type of education to the next generation? How do you and I know the conveyor belt so well? How do we give our kids a leadership education? Let's talk about 3 tips that I think can help you as well. Whether it's starting your school right, a project, class, course, no matter what, we're going to get going in all of this. Let me get to the end of the chat so I can see what's going on. Okay. Tip number 1. Get back here. Tip number 1, I would encourage you to use living books and ideas. These are classic books. What is a classic to you? Leave something in the chat and tell me what you think a classic book is. A classic is not a textbook. A textbook is what you would use on the conveyor belt. And so we want to get away from that personally. I will say when I was a public school teacher, there's one thing I wanted. I wanted books that I wanted to be able to read a whole book with my classroom instead of 2 chapters here and 1 chapter here and made up stories. I wanted to use a real book. Roxanne, old and boring. That is actually, I'm going to give you one of these too, because you were very honest. Because a classic book, I personally don't think is old and boring, but you can send me your email. A classic book is a book, I personally think, that never stops speaking to us. Every time you open it, it has something new to say. I love Pride and Prejudice. Well, let's use Anne of Green Gables. I like that one too. I reread that 2 years ago. And when I reread that, all of a sudden there were things I had completely forgotten about or didn't even see the first time. Pride and Prejudice, every time I read it, I read something new. What's the greatest classic book of all times? All right, greatest classic book that always has something new for you to do. I would encourage the Bible, Tara. Thank you. And Pilgrim's Progress is a good one. We got some good ones. As I talk about classic books, please leave some classic books in the chat, and I will make we'll find a way to share this. But y'all can go ahead and leave some classic books that you've enjoyed. I believe it's important that we read aloud classic books to our kids. Read aloud is probably one of, if you don't do anything else during the day, you should read aloud to your kids every single day. I personally believe that when you use read alouds, you can simplify your homeschool. You can homeschool all your kids at one time. You can get organized because you're not trying to check off. If you have 4 kids, 4 different reading lessons, it's all in one. And so you can simplify your life. You can homeschool multiple kids. Reading aloud can encourage thinking skills. And let me give you a little specific clue. If you're trying to teach and equip your kids, you can use your read aloud for language arts. For your little kids, you can use it for copy work. For your middle-aged kids, you can use it for verbal narration, eventually written narration. For your middle school kids, you can use it for dictation. For your older kids, you can use it for a reading journal to encourage thinking skills. Did you hear that? We're going to talk a little more about this in a second. But real books, classic books, good quality books, you can teach all your kids reading one book, and then they all do things. It's what they did in the little old one-room schoolhouse. Everyone was focused on one thing as well. So there's one way that you can use real books as with your kids, and this can encourage a love of learning as well. Next, I would encourage you to use your kids' interest. Why not? Does the topic really matter what is going on? No. If your kids are fighting you about their homeschool, and many of you said, especially your teenagers, you're like, they used to be good and now they're fighting me. Have you ever thought about letting them study what they're interested in? My girls have astronomy on their high school transcript because they were interested in it. Does it really matter what the topic is? No. They learned science. They had to write. They had projects. They actually went out and looked at the stars. All right. And yes, Kat's saying maybe you can send us a classic book. I will have Ross, my assistant, make a list of this, and we will put it in a document. And if you open your emails through the week, we will send it sometime in one of those emails as well. Because yes, I mean, I can't name all the books. Y'all are naming fantastic books. So does it really matter what the topic is? No. Your kids will do a better job in homeschool if they can pursue their own interests. They will learn more when they are interested. Now, yeah, as my kids were older, we had one required class in high school. It was a humanities class and from a Christian perspective. Like I said, Ashley never finished Algebra 2. They have astronomy on there. They could choose if they did math or science or whatever the other classes are. We let them pursue what they were interested in. This is true self-education. This encourages independent learning like y'all were wanting to as well. And then the other thing I think living books and ideas can do for you as well is give you a personal growth plan. Personal growth plan is something I think you should use with your teenagers. And you can use some of these ideas with younger kids, but I want to really speak to moms of teenagers. This is where they can begin to take ownership and leadership. They set aside a time to learn, and they're doing it on their own. This is a time to read. Next, they're going to record what they learned in a reading journal. This is not telling back. This is not narration. This is recording something about Pride and Prejudice. Why did Darcy respond the way he did? What's the difference between Elizabeth and her sister? Those are the kinds of things you're going to do with older kids in a reading journal. Remember, I talked about copy work where they're just copying sentences. And yes, I'm not going to go into detail on how that works, but it can teach language arts. Narration, written narration for your middle school, dictation, and then older kids, we want to move beyond the literal and go to abstract thinking when it kicks in. That is what we're doing here. And then we want to apply quickly by discussing what they learn. We call this in my Raising Leaders is read, write, discuss. It is a 3-step process that can truly encourage your kids to be independent learners and gain that liberal education that we want. I encourage you to use classics, and you can do it with the Bible. This gives you freedom. Some of you want to teach your kids what is important to you, your family values. Well, you know what? You can do read, write, discuss with anything. You can do it with the Bible. You can do it with literature. You can do it with even math type books, not the problem solving, but story books. You can do it with history and art appreciation and science. There are all sorts of things you can use this 3-step process for. And if you're doing a read aloud, you could do it with multiple kids reading the similar book as well. My student, Shelley, said, Carrie, and with this discuss, she's like, I didn't see any value in discussing it. I did not even like it. I just thought you read a book and that was it. But when I took your course, I realized you could get discussions from the Bible, the newspaper, even a movie can educate your kids, and it completely changed my mindset. And I appreciate the role that you have used in mentoring myself as well. So tip number 1 is living books and ideas. Tip number 2 is modeling and mentoring. We're going back to that model, teach, coach. And I would say this is where you want to start. No matter how old your kids are, if they do not have a foundation of biblical character, this is where you need to start. If you need to change your kids' attitude, first, check yourself and see what kind of attitude you are role modeling. If you're complaining all the time, probably complaining too. If they're saying words that you don't, check yourself and see if those are words that you've been saying. Kids copy us for good or bad. There was a time Steve told me, Carrie, and the kids were, my oldest was 5. So he was like, Carrie, quit rolling your eyes at me. And I said, I'm not rolling my eyes at you. He says, yes, you are. Well, we just sort of moved on and disagreed. A week or 2 later, I asked Ashley to do something and she rolled her eyes at me. Where did she learn that? Did I say, oh, Ashley, roll your eyes at me when you don't want to do something? No, I role modeled it and it was bad. And I had to do many things. I had to apologize to Ashley. I had to apologize to Steve. And then we had to work on changing our action. Whether you like it or not, we are role modeling something. I was speaking at an event in Nashville a couple years ago, back when masks were around. The hotel had a mask. It was still in between the mask thing. There were lots of moms going to get the, I want a mask exemption for medical reasons. And they had no medical exemption at all. And they actually ran out of exemptions for some kids that really had a medical issue. And I was teaching a character class at the time, and I stopped and I said something and told the story that some moms here are doing this. What do you think you're modeling for your kids when they're standing there and you're saying, I need a mask exemption? Your kids are learning that it's okay to lie if it makes it more comfortable for you. You could have heard a pin drop in there. It's so important we look at ourselves first. Now, I don't think Warren Bennis is a Christian, but he's a leadership expert. And he says successful leadership is not about being tough or soft, sensitive or assertive, but about a set of attributes. First and foremost is character. This is so important, and a good leader has character. So how do we do it from a biblical perspective? All right. I would encourage you to use the Bible and go to their heart. Not just, yes, we need to change their actions, just like Ashley and I rolling, but we needed to go to their heart. And that is what is so important. And we can do this by using the Bible. These are some of our character charts. I'll just show you how they work. This is a blessing character, and this is a consequence. If they are making peace, here's a verse, and then you fill in what happens in your family. If they are arguing, here's a verse, and you fill in what happens. You do it ahead of time, and then there's no questions. The kids know what happens. If you obey, verse, and here's what happens. We bless you. And then if you disobey, here's what happens. You use the verse. God's shoulders are big enough to handle your kid's attitude. Do it ahead of time, and you become more consistent in the blessings and in the consequences. You're not dreaming it up. What you're going to do is you're walking into their room while they're in a big argument. You just go get them and bring them to the refrigerator and say, oh, you know what? Let's read what God says about arguing. And then here's what happens in our family. This is part of a chart ebook. You print it out, you can laminate it, or you can just print out new ones. There's 3 different charts. Every chart has different character qualities, all based on the Bible. There's even a page of sample consequences and blessings as well. That is one way that you could do this as well. I had another student said, Carrie, I just could never figure out how to implement this from a Christian perspective. Thank you for bringing it all together. So the first thing we do is we model and mentor character. Next, we're going to model and mentor a love of learning for life. My first question is, do you love learning? Do your kids see you loving learning? My kids knew I loved to read. I was not a reader growing up, but when Hunter, we had moved to Idaho, he went over to visit a friend for the first time. He walked into his dad's office, octagonal shaped office, floor to ceiling, bookshelves, total books everywhere, books on the desk, books on the coffee table, books everywhere. And Hunter says, my mom would love this room. He was about 10 years old. Well, we come to pick him up. I walk in that room because you have to walk through the office to get to the rest of the house. And I say, I love this room. And everyone's laughing. I'm like, why are y'all laughing? Because that's what Hunter said. I modeled a love of reading for my kids. Now, I'm telling you, learning should be fun. Do you think this kid's having fun? I mean, he's learning something about pumpkins, whether he wants to or not. So I would encourage you, one, you need to role model it, and then we need to teach and coach a love of learning. If you have a teen, this is a place that you can start as well and let them find something that they love as well. Hunter actually had to write a paper about a person. I want him to write about an emperor. He just went, oh gosh, okay, Mom. The next day I said, what about Derek Jeter? He is a tremendous baseball player at the time. Do you think Hunter wrote a better paper about Derek Jeter or about if he had done about an emperor that he could care less about? Did he still learn? Oh, yes, we got some baseball fans. Did he learn how to write a paper? Yes. Did it matter if he wrote about Caesar Augustus or Derek Jeter? No. Okay, Kat, you're just going to have to get one of these books because you're a baseball fan and you know who Derek Jeter is. Oh, my goodness. I don't ever know if anyone does. So send me your email. All right, let's get going. Excuse me. And then thinking skills, decision-making skills. Are you reading and growing in your own education? Or are you scrolling the phone? What would your kids say? Are you growing in education and learning and sharing things that you're learning? Or are you just telling them to learn? How can you give your kids a leadership education if you didn't receive one? You need to hop off the conveyor belt and do what Charlotte Mason says. There is no education, but self-education. Self-education. Cherry had this to say, and she's from like 10 years ago, one of our students. She said, thanks for putting all this together. There's little to nothing about modeling and mentoring education to our kids. Here's what she said. I felt like a lone horse on a deserted trail. Everyone else that I know that homeschools is on the conveyor belt to keep up with the public education counterpart. Thank you for being a voice in the desert that will give guidance to as many lone horses that are headed your way. I just love her picture that, you know, sometimes we are in a desert and we feel like we're a lone horse. Well, you're not alone. We are here to help and we want to support each other. Tip 1, living books and ideas. Tip 2, modeling and mentoring. Tip 3, relationships over productivity, relationships over checklists. How do you get all this done with that long to-do list? We're not even going to be able to start. Here's what I say. It is not about productivity orientation. It is not about a checklist mentality. It is not about adding more things to your schedule and overwhelming you. It is about a lifestyle and a style of education. Helen's one of my students, and she's like, Carrie, you need to tell people about this more because this has changed me. You have the ability to help people have a different perspective on education, and they can still use the curriculum and the books or whatever, but we've got to get this perspective. If you listen to the veteran homeschoolers, and I interviewed a ton of them with homeschool superheroes, you will hear them all talk about the best thing that happened from homeschooling is building relationships. If you want to get unstuck and get off that conveyor belt and quit worrying about productivity, hey, I'm not against a checklist. It needs to be your checklist, not the textbook checklist. It needs to be the checklist that God's direction is giving you. It's okay. And then let's talk about how you can do this. First, I think you need to change your mindset and your perspective. I just think this is huge. To start well, you need to change your perspective and realize it's not a list of subjects to check off. It's about the whole child. Laura Cruz is one of my favorite students. If you're in the Facebook group, you've probably seen her all over the place. And she just said, Carrie, I am so thankful for raising leaders. She said, the devil keeps lying to me that what I'm doing isn't the right thing. And it was all in my head. Raising leaders has been what has been from my heart, raising from the beginning. And just thank you so much. I'm grateful to get the help that I need to follow the vision that God had already given her. God had given her something, but she kept seeing everyone else and kept comparing herself to everyone else. And she says, now I've completely changed my mindset and my kids love their new teacher. So first, change your mindset, relax. All you overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious people, relax. Take a breath. Breathing actually can calm us down. They teach breathing exercises to first responders before they go into a fire, before they go into war. It's about taking a breath, stop the stress, and then rest in the Lord. Rest in the Lord to help you make decisions that He is guiding you into. Pray to Him. This is what makes a lot of what I put out different. Again, Helen said, Carrie, and I've had other ones say, the difference between you and all the other ways to homeschool is you are talking about doing it from a faith perspective. You are talking about go to God. If you're not sure what to do, go to God and listen to Him, and then trust what He's telling you, and He will be faithful. And so I just think that is so important. We need to relax. We need to rest in the Lord, and we can gain freedom. It'll give you freedom as a homeschool mom. It can also give freedom to your kids to be able to grow up as future leaders. Now, if you agree with this relationships over productivity and checklist, some of you already said yes. Put something in the chat and say yes. All right, Roseanne, you may have already gotten one. I don't know if I have Roxanne or Roseanne, but if you haven't gotten one of these worries, you already said relax and yes. So I'm going to put you down. I may have two people. I may have written it down wrong. Okay, let me get to, oh my gosh, 11. Yes, yes, yes. It is better to trust the Lord. This is, man chooses his steps, but God directs us. That's my paraphrase of that verse. All right. Oh, I've already talked about Laura. I would challenge you. Here are 3 steps. Well, if I can get it to move. Living books and ideas, modeling and mentoring, relationship education over productivity education. I would challenge you to follow these 3 tips to pursue a better education. Now, you don't need to go change everything right now. I would choose one of these things that you think could help reduce the overwhelm, simplify your homeschool, give you confidence to know you're doing the right activity. Which one of these would help you this year? Right, well, let's just say right now, starting school right, not the whole year, but let's just say you're going to work on it in August and September and put something in there as well. Do this. Oh, that's interesting. You heard this in another Zoom thing. Okay, relationship. Okay. Which one will help you the most? Modeling and mentoring, number 2, and number 3. Yes, very good. I will say at this point, I have a question for you. Would you like me to help you gain confidence and freedom to give your children a Christian education with leadership skills as well? I see that you would have two options. First, you can try to create a Christian leadership education plan on your own, but you'll run the risk of being in the same place next year with a big open loop and no plan to give your kids that better education of what you want them to have. Or option two, you could 100% commit to focusing on proven plan. If you're ready to build confidence and freedom in your homeschool efforts and follow a proven plan, I invite you to join me inside of Raising Leaders, Not Followers. I mentioned it several times, if you just heard the way it has changed people's lives, I've got a few more stories. The biggest one is Angie in just a second. Raising Leaders, Not Followers is the only leadership education course of its kind from a Christian perspective. It'll show you exactly how to build godly character, lifetime learners who can think critically and biblically and make wise decisions as they glorify God. Angie is one of my students that she homeschooled in COVID. She was ready to ship those kids back, but because of some things with what's going on, she wasn't able to do that. And she's like, I figured I got to homeschool. The first year was horrible. I was not on board, but I started researching homeschooling, Carrie, and she said, it was a God thing. I found you. I have no idea how I found you, Carrie. And she said, I said to myself, this is a lady I want to follow. And the thing she learned from our leadership course is it isn't fully about academics, just what Laura said as well. She said, I learned, Carrie, that it is more about God and putting God first as I fulfill God's purpose for me and for my kids. And she said, Carrie, the more I saw what you taught, I said, yes, this is what I want to do. If I'm going to homeschool, this is how I want it to look. And so she took our leadership Raising Leaders course and she said, I went from never wanting to ever homeschool again. It was a disastrous year to really finding a plan that would work for us. And she said, with this leadership perspective, all of a sudden I had purpose and content and encouragement that I needed to move forward so I could be effective in my homeschooling. Now, I'm not going to read through all that. You can sort of skim through what all the different things are that we are going to cover in this course. And I am going to go through quickly our modules. Module 1 is a 5-step formula for Christian leadership education, giving you a clarity and a path to walk on, a fast track to being intentional. And this starts from kindergarten and goes all the way to 12th grade. So you can give your kids a personalized education for them. Next, character is foundational. That is really where we start with our kids. You're going to find the number one most important quality you need to give your kids, especially as a leader. Dump that bad attitude and begin afresh. Module 3, inspire your kids to love learning so you can absolutely nail it to make learning fun. Your kids won't even know that they are learning. The tools of learning to make lifetime learners. This is jump off that conveyor belt, the public school system, and use tools that have been used for centuries so that you can give your kids a personalized education, the best one ever. And then we want to talk about our thinking skills. Help your kids be able to write about a book when they have no idea what to write. Help you lead a discussion without an English degree, even when you have no idea and you're really unsure of yourselves. We give you tips and tricks on that. And then we're going to talk about decision-making. We want to graduate our kids with decision-making skills. So we share 7 secrets that you can use with your teens to help them. And then finally, we offer 3 weeks of implementation. Life gets in your way and you can't get through all of it. So I'll discuss this in a second, but we do give implementation weeks as well. Helen is one that I've sort of mentioned to you before. And she told me, she goes, Carrie, I was really skeptical. I wasn't sure if you were trying to use a marketing thing on me or what. I was not sure, but I am so very grateful for you. She says, after taking your Raising Leaders course, she said, I found really big insights and I look forward to implementing these ideas. She goes, these are going to help shift our goals, my kids' attitude and my attitude, and just our overall feel for our home. She just kept saying, thank you, thank you. I'm still probably, and here it goes, I'm still having to deal with letting go issues because of a less formal schedule. And I'm sure some of y'all are feeling the same. How do we let go? And she said, I need to trust God more. But thankfully, you're helping me do that as well. All right, well, this course sells for $197, but we want to make sure you have everything you need. So we have help for the hurried homeschooler. These are printables, schedules, printables, and other helps for you to raise your kids as a leader. We have a classic book list, including 3 lists, really, children's, teenagers, and adults. You're like, I don't know what classics to read. These are ones at all ages, even moms. We have lifetime access to this, so you're never going to lose access to it as long as it's online. Again, there's Laura. She said, this completely changed my mindset. My kids love their teacher. That's her. And then this is where it all started. I started by writing this book, Raising Leaders, Not Followers. It was just on my heart. It talks about leadership education. It talks about character. It talks about love of learning. I think there's 17 strategies of love of learning, and then transitioning into independent learning. Many of you want that independent learning. Then the next book was this one, Teach Your Children How to Think with Mentoring. How do we use this mentoring attitude and mentoring model get our kids to think? And then we also talk about internships and college and launching them into adult life. And then this book here, Hop Off the Conveyor Belt, the only place you'll ever find it is within the course. You can't buy it on its own. These are real life tips and tricks from homeschool moms that they actually used in their homeschool to provide them with a leadership education. Now, I do give a money back guarantee. I'm really looking for serious action takers. But before you ask for a refund, I would ask that you at least make sure you've given the course a try. Because I'm not really looking for tire kickers, but true go-getting moms that want to dive in and get the results quickly. If you do the work and you're not truly satisfied, then show me your work after 14 days of getting the course. And if you sign up today, you'll get the course. It'll start next Monday. We'll use all week, so we get our group of students. And this really means that you can't lose because of the refund as well. Holly is a reviewer, and she said, your ebooks are packed full of so many practical ideas. And so thank you. All right, here's the whole thing. You've got the course, you've got your bonus gifts, but let's talk about the VIP. I want to treat you like a VIP. So you actually are going to get 3 weeks of live coaching. These are implementation weeks. You can sign up and ask specifically your question. This will help maintain your motivation, and you'll keep up with your leadership homeschooling plan. And within that first 14 days before the refund, you can get the trial group coaching, which is going to be Monday, August 7th. I can't do it this weekend because Friday I'm taking one of my granddaughters out for a back to school lunch and shopping spree, and I have to go to a funeral on Saturday. So the first day I can really do this after the cart closes is Monday. And so this is a trial group coaching. Again, I'm going to mention Helen. She said, Carrie, the 2 things that helped me the most in your course are these group coaching. And she showed up every time. There was one time she was the only one who showed up, and she got private coaching from me for a whole hour, basically. And so she really took advantage of these group coaching. And she says the module videos are what really kept me going with the PDFs that go along with it. So all right, so that's one bonus. Then we have our instant bonus, quit trying to homeschool, start training for success. A lot of them are like, I'm trying. Well, let's quit trying and let's start really training. Let's do the things to train for success as well. Meredith, you may have met her last week in Homeschool Superheroes. She is going to give you a session on raising kids who love to read. And then another homeschool superhero, Amber, get control of scheduling and time management. She has 10 kids. She knows how to manage her time quite well. Then we have a Facebook group, and this will be a private group that you can get in and get help from each other. And that way you don't have to wait till implementation. We can pop in immediately if you have problems and questions. And I will be giving feedback as much as time permits. I try to get in there at least a couple times a week. Then you're going to get a free ticket to my other event. I have two events, Homeschool Superheroes in July and Life Skills Leadership Summit. And this really focuses on leadership skills as well. And this is the last week of February. You get a VIP summit ticket. You'll get early access. You'll get whatever the bundle is, our swag bag, lifetime access to all of these, as well as your instant access once we open it on February 5th. This is huge, and you can get more support, and you don't have to buy the ticket later on in February. And then today only, if you sign up today till midnight, this is my fast action bonus. I just love all these pictures, but this is 7 body systems of printables and fun activities that you can do with your kids. From kindergarten all the way to junior high and high school. We got the little fertilization well as well. And so these are just a lot of fun things. What you've got all of those 7 body systems that you can get an activity pack. This is worth $70 if you sign up today. And so we got the whole package, and who knows, I obviously added some words that aren't supposed to be there. And you're probably going, oh, there is no way I can spend $1,500. I do believe what you're getting has a lot of value, but I know my moms well. And you want to give your kids an elite education and gain confidence in the process, but this is way too much for you. Well, believe it or not, we got a better price for you. You can get this starting at $54 if you like, and go ahead and get started on our instant bonuses. You can get in and get the books today, immediately, right now, if you want. And that would be 4 payments, or you can make a one-time payment of $197 as well. And that would also get you into it and give you all the things that you get instantly as well. You can go to howtohomeschoolmychild.com/RLNF, and I will be answering questions in just a minute. And so some of y'all have been posting questions, and I will be answering those in just 1 second. Let me just finish sharing a couple more bonuses. This is if you decide to pay in full. It's a drama-free mom bundle. And actually, Diane Spiel, one of my founding members to this course over a year ago, she already had this, and she said, Carrie, this is what everyone needs. I bought your bundle. Just go ahead and give it to him, even though I already have it, because it quickly changed my public school mindset and gave me daily routines to make my family's weekly homeschool schedule run a lot smoother. You're going to get an ebook, and then you get 2 videos and 1 audio workshop to go along with it. It sells for the bundle is a $45 value as well. And if for some reason you just go ahead and you're ready to go get it now. Because if you sign up today on the masterclass, I'm gonna give you a $10 Amazon gift card. $10 Amazon gift card. This is so, you're like, what can I buy it for $10? There are classics. Go look for the publisher, Dover. Buy a classic for your kids to get started reading, or buy a classic for you to start your own education, self-education, or buy a fun learning toy to encourage a love of learning, or buy your next read aloud book. It is $10 on Amazon for you to go get whatever it is that you need for this coming school year. So there's the entire packages. And I'm not exactly sure why you showed up today, but I bet I can guess. Maybe you feel stressed out. I know some of you did, pulled in so many directions, or your kid's attitude is driving you crazy and you want to pull your hair out. I want you to remember why you showed up today. By now, I know you can see how raising leaders, not followers, will help you bust through all the sticking points that have stopped you from hopping off that conveyor belt of public schools in the past. Your fear of failing your own kids because you're unsure what really works in homeschooling. But if you still haven't signed up, you may have some doubts. Maybe you're thinking, let's create my own plan. I hear you. That's exactly where I was. And it took me years, years to formulate my own plan. I want you to rest assured that the steps we offer will take you by the hand from kindergarten to 12th grade, steps at each level of education. And Rachel is another one of our students, and here's what she had to say. I couldn't believe this when she told me. She goes, I'm going through Raising Leaders a second time, and I love it, Carrie. I love the information. I'm so excited to use what I've learned. And she says, I'm currently reading a book for myself, that's self-education, and we're only 3 weeks. This is 3 weeks after she had a baby. And she says, I've already got my read aloud book that we're going to start reading next week. So just people that are getting it, it's not a one and done. She's actually going through it again, and she can pick and choose the parts that she can do as well. Or maybe, I know this is some of you because I've sort of been glancing at some of your questions. I can't spend the money. And I hear you, because economic times are not easy right now, especially with what's going on. But I would consider, let's just say you only have one kid left and you've got 4 years, they're starting high school. That means that if you were to pay the $197, that's like spending $50 a year over the next 4 years for you to be able to change your perspective and give your kids a better education. I will tell you this. I promise you that I will walk with you holding your hand over the next 9 weeks so you are successful and you start giving your kids the education they deserve so they can think for themselves and make wise decisions as young adults. And if money is tight, we do have the payment plan so that you don't have to feel like you have to shell it all out right now. And some of you are like, probably a lot of fluff. I should have read Rachel's now. Rachel says, she's like, I'm already going through it a second time. So you can tell, and she just had a baby. She doesn't have time for fluff. I do not believe in fluff. I actually have pared it down to give you all the essentials without a lot of extras. This used to be a 12-week class. I took all the most important things and put it here in the class. So it is homeschooling with a purpose, homeschooling to raise your kids to be leaders. Now, here we are, friends. It's time to answer all your burning questions. I'm going to open it up to you to ask anything you're wondering about. And in the meantime, you can get more information about raising leaders, not followers, at howtohomeschoolmychild.com/RLNF. And if you decide to get it in before we close, I will be sending you an Amazon gift card. I'm going to put that here so it's clickable. I could spell. And I've seen your questions. I'm headed over there right now. Okay, that should be clickable for you as well. Let me pull up these questions. This is my last year. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I think I'm getting back to the beginning. Alex says, oh dear, I love all your ideas, Carrie, but we're stuck financially. And I understand, and if there's a problem, I would love to be able to work with y'all. And so we've never really given scholarships, I will say that. But we do try to work with people and help them in any sort of financial issues that we have. Kat says 10 kids and successful with godly homeschooling. I'm telling you, I've interviewed her. She's actually in one of my mastermind groups that I coach people in. And she is an organized woman and she still has a few kids left. Jamie says, are these hard copies or ebooks? These are ebooks. And so you will have immediate access to them when you sign up, because when you sign into the members area, you don't have to wait for any kind of shipping. You'll have immediate access. And Chanda, who doesn't love an Amazon gift card? Yes, I agree. Also suggest downloading the Kindle app for free. Oh, classic books. Yes, good idea. Okay, that's a good point, Kat. And let's talk about that for a second. The time aspect. I have not really talked to you about like each module. If you're thinking you're going to have to spend 5 to 7 hours a week on this, put that out of your mind. Except for the first week. The first week is 5. Oh, here, let me pull my video on since we're not doing this. Let me, there we go. If you were thinking, see if I can move this little guy around. If you're thinking that you're going to have to spend hours and hours, no. Except for the first week, most of them are 2 or 3 videos, and each video is anywhere from 4 to 7 minutes. I know that you are busy, and so I want to keep it something that maybe you could even just turn on while you're cooking dinner or something. and then be able to work on the worksheets. Each module comes with videos and a PDF that will give you a little bit more information if you're a reader, or you can actually, it'll give you some little questions. The first week, we actually have a handout for if you have teenagers, for you to have a conversation with your kids and find out where they're headed and give them a personalized education, and it will help you with that. But the first week is 5 modules because we have our 5 steps foundation. And so that one is probably a little bit more. But having said that, there's a few things I would like to talk about this. Is it worth it? I feel like I have negative amounts of time. I want to invest, but I have no undivided attention. A couple things. If you can just devote 30 minutes a week and get the videos, Helen has already told me, Carrie, that's the most important thing. And here's how it will work. We have module 1 and 2, week 1 and week 2, and then we take a break. And there's nothing new there. Now, the bonuses come out at different times. I'm talking the essentials. So week 3 is implementation, and you can get on a call with me for group coaching. And even if you haven't watched all the videos, we can talk about it, and let's see how we can help you with those foundation and with character. And let's see where you are, and let's talk about this. I'm here to help you. And so I believe if you can just find even 30 minutes to 1 hour a week, if you can, I don't know, morning person, night person, if you could block out 2 or 3 days a week, 20 minutes, let's say 3 days, 20 minutes for 3 days, and be able to focus on that, I think you could actually take a lot away. Helen actually told me, she said when she was finished with the whole course, she had not really finished it. She'd gotten all of it because it's dripped every week. But she's like, Carrie, I got so caught up in the character and the love of learning that I'm just focusing right there. And her kids are like junior high. So you have it till life. One of the reasons I wanted to go ahead and start it right after Homeschool Superheroes is a lot of you don't start school until the end of August. This will give you 3 weeks to get the first 2 weeks, mod 1 and 2 going, and then the third week, implementation. Implementation is for catch up or implementation. So it's really up to you where you are in whatever it is that you're getting done. I hope that answers, and I'm going to keep reading. But so week 1, mod 1, week 2, mod 2, week 3, implementation, week 4 and 5, modules 4 and 5, another break. Then weeks 6 or 7 and 8, and then the final week is implementation. I will tell you that if you sign up before Wednesday, you will be invited to my summer group's very last training. Their last coaching call is this Wednesday at 3 o'clock Central Time, and you are welcome to join us if you sign up before Wednesday. And you can just, it'll be towards the end, but you can still ask questions too. We can talk about anything throughout the whole course by then. Okay, I hope that answered your questions. Sounds like this is Charlotte Mason we're learning is right. Samantha, actually, I want to address that. I personally believe it's an eclectic view because we do use Charlotte Mason, but we use unit studies to get children's interest. We use classical education for our tools of learning. We use the principle approach, which is a biblical principle approach to homeschooling. So basically, it is eclectic with a purpose. It is using all the best things at the different age levels to raise your kids to lead, to raise your kids to be able to think critically and make wise decisions and be lifetime learners. So I hope that answers your question. It includes Charlotte Mason. It is bigger than that. It encompasses a lot more. What time are your live classes? They are, except for next Monday, they are on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Central Time. I will tell you next Monday, I would do it at 3 o'clock Central, but on Mondays, except for today because of this class, on Mondays at 3 o'clock, I do my Facebook Live. So if y'all are new to me, I go live about different topics at 3 o'clock in our Facebook group. And we may start putting it in the Zoom. And then we put it in YouTube and the podcast. Homeschool Coffee Break is my podcast. And so I'm going to try to stick with that. So just because of my weekend situation with the funeral and all, I wasn't able to do over the weekend. Monday will be at 2 o'clock Central Time. All others, 3 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday afternoon. How do I sign up before the class is over? Okay, okay, now she sees the link. Rachel sees it. Yay! See, you already got some friends in there if you sign up. I'm pretty old school. Is there an option to get hard copies? I have a year to prepare and I would love to be prepared for this journey. Yes, there is. I will give you some links. It's just, yes, I do have hard copies for the two books, Raising Leaders and Teach Your Children How to Think. The Hop Off the Conveyor Belt is entirely ebook. We've never printed that because it just comes with this digital course. So I will send some information out if you would like a hard copy. And as part of this, I will just go ahead and tell y'all that I will look. There's two things. I'm not quite sure. I need to look at the prices. I will either, since if you sign up and you want the hard copy with the class, we will give it to you. I'll just tell you right now. Let's do this. I don't know what shipping will be. I'm going to guess $3 or $4, $5. So let's just say you can get both books. I'm going to have to look and see for $7 or $8 shipped to you if you want a hard copy. Let's just say $8. Let me write this down so I remember with shipping. Okay, so that would be good. All right. That's doable. Yay, Kat. I'm glad that time thing answered. I can do that after my babies go to sleep when they don't have rough wake up nights. Yeah, those rough wake up nights. I've been babysitting grandkids and one of them had surgery and then had to go back a day later and it's just wild. But now she's all better. She had her tonsils out. You know, I'm not saying now, I will say Kat has limited time. Some of you may have more time. You may have all independent learners. And they can go off. You may even have drivers that can drive themselves to soccer practice or dance or whatever. You have more time. You can invest more in it. The cool thing is like Rachel said, and like Helen, and like Laura, and like Cherry, and like all, and they all keep coming back to it. So maybe you have little kids and you're going to be more interested in the foundation, the character, the love of learning, and the tools of learning. Critical thinking, that's more for teenagers, which I recommend. Then that's a good thing. You can focus on those first 4 modules and that's it. But you have access. So maybe next summer, your kids are turning 12 or 13 and you can turn on the critical thinking. Don't worry about the parts that don't pertain to you right now. So if it's only character, maybe you just have preschoolers and maybe it's love of learning and we just do that. But the number one thing I think everyone needs to do is start with the 5 steps to a foundation. That is important and where we need to start. How often do you open this course a year? And did you say it's a lifetime access? Trish is asking, like I can go back over and over. Yes, you can go back over and over. I will tell you to help stop the overwhelm. I can't completely get rid of it. Only God can. To help stop it, we only give you bite-sized pieces each week. Because I used to sell this as a bundle and my moms did nothing because there was so much they didn't know where to start. So we already made the decision for you. Week 1, you just do this and that's it. That's all you have to do. Week 2, you just do this and that's it. Week 3, you catch up or implement. So we want to be I want to see transformation in your homeschool like Laura Cruz, who says, my kids love their teacher. They like homeschooling now and they didn't before. That's what we want. So yes, you get lifetime access. Over the 9 weeks, we will every Monday, you'll get an email with the login and all that kind of stuff. And the next time we will formally open this class is May. I used to open it 4 times a year and it was just too much because I want to take a personal role in you. Now, that doesn't mean I'm on Facebook group every single day, but I will get in there 2 or 3 days a week and interact. And it's your freedom to interact with them as much as the other people in there. But yes, you have lifetime access. The next formal one, if we have a flash sale, I will guarantee you I will not open it again until 2024. What is the ideal age to start this? Samantha says. Okay, so let me just say, this is a course for moms on how to implement leadership education in your homeschool. We give you ideas starting with character and love of learning, which I believe is preschool, kindergarten ages into elementary ages. all the way up to critical thinking. And I don't think you really need to start critical thinking skills until teenage years. So that's sort of where I'm thinking. So if that answers your question, if you have young kids, I personally think if you have young kids, you might as well start out right. I wish I had. Every year I did something different until I found leadership education. I started with Charlotte Mason and unit studies. Then I went to classical and unit studies. And then I went to biblical approach. And it was just like, this pulls it all together at different age levels that are appropriate and using the different styles at different age levels. So that's what I personally think. And you might as well get it from a good, solid foundation. Totally good with paying for shipping. Oh, good. Jessica, is it worth for me with this being the last year? Jessica, I don't know if I can answer that question, but I can give you a few ideas. It really sort of depends on where your student is. If you feel like you need to do a shift, if you want to give them more freedom, give them the tools of learning and that love of learning, or if they're already independent thinkers who can learn on their own, then that you may not need this. I do not tell everyone that you need this, because if you are an independent thinkers and critical thinking, decision-making child, you may not need it. If you're looking for that, it may be something that you could implement. Because the thing you'll sort of dive into with this is, number one, character with teenagers. I don't know where they are, so I'm just saying that would be something from a biblical perspective. The other thing you're going to really dive into would be the tools of learning, making sure that they really have, we talk about knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Wisdom is the high school years. And so that is more what we call rhetoric, the ability to communicate and persuade your other people, both verbally and in written form. And so that would be something that we will talk about. Does that mean I dive deep? Like if you want classical education, we're going to give you how to and step-by-step ways to do that. But if you really want to dive deep into that, you might want to need to get a book. But the other thing is, we do talk about critical thinking skills, and I would spend the whole year using our read, write, discuss. We dive into that. What does it look like? How do you get your kids to write about something instead of retelling? How do we discuss this? How often do we read? How often do we write? How often do we discuss? Those kinds of things are things that can encourage ownership, leadership, freedom, independent learning as well. But the most important thing is it all starts with you, Mom. Your self-education, and we start that in module 1. So I can't answer your question, Jessica, but I hope that gives you a few things to think about. Chris says it's a character curriculum included with this. The charts are not included with the course itself, but the ideas of character training and how you can use the Bible. We're going to spend more time than I had time to really dive into it. But yes, so we will have, you have a whole module on that. I want to say 2 or 3 videos, maybe just 2, I'm not quite sure. But we're going to dive into things that you can do to use the Bible to be able to teach training and to teach more from the heart as well. So I hope that helps. I think, I have to see, there may be also a bonus, a surprise. Not supposed to tell you till you get in there. On forgiveness. All right. And so that might be helpful too. All right. Any other questions? And did I explain how it works? If you sign up this week, you get instant access. Let's just go over this to these ebooks and these printables. You will get instant access to this Quit Trying, Start Training. I think that's a great place to start. You'll get you'll get an invitation to go to the Facebook group and join. These 2 bonus ones from Meredith and Amber will be given out later because, again, I don't want to overwhelm you. So we wait 2 or 3 weeks before we give those bonuses. You'll get your other ones. The life skills leadership, obviously, you won't get that until February. Today only, it's set up. It should automatically show up in your account if you sign up, and you'll get that human body 7 activity packs. And if you sign up during class right now, I will probably email you just to confirm your email address that you want us to use for your Amazon gift card and be able to send that to you later today. All right, I think that's it. I don't think there are any more questions. Oh, so what will happen is Monday morning, you'll get an email. It will give you the members login again. You will have already been there and it will tell you, hey, module 1 is here. It will also tell you Carrie's trial coaching. This is group coaching trial for you. Starts on Monday and you can try it out and sort of see what the group coaching is like. And that will be, it'll be for you, but we will invite anyone that is a racing leader. So once you join, you get invited to the group coaching as long as you stay on my email list, and we will keep sending you an invite or until you opt out of that. Is any of what was covered today included in the free ebook on your website? Not really. That was homeschooling, and that is more general ideas on homeschooling. It is not specific to leadership education. You know, it's going to talk a little bit about looking at your kids and what are your goals, and it's going to tell you about organizing your day and scheduling and what types of subjects to cover and that kind of thing. So Samantha, but go ahead and get that book if you haven't. And if you sign up, you can compare it. But I can just say this is a dive deep into what you're looking. I'm sorry I missed that last note. Can you explain the group coaching trial again? Yes. So you do need to sign up for the course. You'll get a group coaching session on Monday. It's sort of like a trial. I just want to include it before the guarantee is over, and it gives you a chance to see what group coaching is like. And so it will be Monday at 2 o'clock. It's the only 2 o'clock. That's just my schedule. Sorry, I was trying to do it on Saturday, but with the funeral, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so that is going to be Monday at 2. Then on week 3, you'll get your first real group coaching. It's like the second group coaching, to be honest. I hope that explains. If not, let me know. I thought that was to preview it before buying right, but then I got confused. It's not really, because we're not really sharing the trial coaching except for people that are serious about it. Because the coaching right now, we're just going to go ahead and keep it with the people that actually sign up. It's just to let you see what group. I want you to be able to see everything about the course before the guarantee is over. And that's why and to be honest, my friend Helen helped me make that decision, and we were just looking for ways to just give y'all more assurance that you relate to me and the things that I say will really help your family as well. So that's why it's just sort of there as well. Got it? Yes, does. Thank you. You're welcome. Hey guys, thank y'all so much for spending time with me. I know I went a little over, but y'all kept asking questions. I hope this has been a tremendous help. If you have more questions, please send me an email or DM me on Facebook. I do check my ones that I haven't become friends with. I try to check those whenever I'm on Facebook as well. Tremendous help. Thank you, Roseanne. Y'all, this is my pleasure. I wish someone had taken me by the hand and showed me all these things when I was getting started. But they didn't. And so I sort of rocked along and figured it out myself. So I don't want you to have to do that. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day, and we will talk to you later.